Buttercup. I guess the dog doesn't want to be in it. What's up, guys? So, talked about the Wolverine, right? And I find myself kind of thinking I've actually listened to that podcast a couple of times, just so I can kind of get an idea of, what I'm gonna do. And the reason I bring that up is because, dude, I'll be honest with you, life is tough, dude. It's very, very difficult. And it's like sometimes I catch myself. Now, real quick, whenever I say I catch myself, just want you to take mental notes that I'm probably sure that you've done this too. We're all in the same boat, right? We just operate or think differently or may say things differently but mean the same thing. But, you know, I expected things to kind of be exciting. By the way, as weird as it sounds, I actually like handheld mics. I didn't like them before, but it's actually kind of convenient. Makes me feel, special. Not that kind of special, but you get what I'm saying. But yeah, so I kind of expected things in my life to kind of just, especially specifically as of recently, I expected things to kind of just like I was excited for it, right? And best analogy I can give is like, that feeling you get right before you're about to head out to, I don't know, you're about to head out to, you're going on a trip or vacation, you're getting your bags packed and ready to go, and you can already just envision the destination you're going to, but you totally forget that you're going to have to sit through TSA. You're going to have to sit and wait in the plane for hours before you land in your location, right? Like that's where I'm at. I'm like in this like liminal space. Very weird. And I've always had like struggles with being in that liminal space because I don't know what to do with myself. Like I feel like I am regressing or I am not moving forward. And it feels like sometimes when I get like thoughts and clarity, like moments of clarity, I tend to get super overexcited. And I don't know, man. I just feel like the payoff is immediate, and it's not necessarily the case. And I realize that over time, like I said earlier this year, I was talking about how I'm gonna be getting a lot of things done and yada yada yada. And I have. Don't get me wrong, I have. But there's this there's this like weird like I don't know, it's a weird lingering doubt that just kind of taunts me on a daily basis. And it's not just the doubt, it's like an undisturbed peace that doesn't feel comfortable. And I don't want to live in a like perpetual cycle of chaos. This like brings me to like this position of like, am I? And I know, like I said before, I know that I'm not the only person that goes through this. I've talked to many people about this, but it's like, is it okay to feel this? It's a state of confusion that I find myself in, and it's weird because you would think like, yeah, dude, like this is normal, right? But my normal is like compared to other people's normal, and then other people's normal compared to me is like way higher, right? So it's nuts. And the reason I say that is like, I'm doing my I'm excited. I'm doing my stuff. I'm doing the things that I set my mind out to, and I'm just kind of left asking myself like, is this it? right? Is this the or should I be doing more? Should I be taking advantage of, I got 12 hours in a day or 16 hours in a day, depending on what time you sleep, right? Should I be optimizing every single one of those hours for making income or working? And it just kind of left, like, keeps me in this state of like confusion almost. And it's interesting because that's not like life, that's not reality. And being off of social media definitely helped. I do feel like, to an extent, there's this level of like, I don't know, man. It's like this level of like doubt that just creeps into your head, and it keeps you thinking and guessing, am I doing the right thing? Am I am I gonna be left behind? Not so much left behind, but you get what I'm saying. Like, am I gonna be okay? And especially with my condition, my heart condition and my blood condition, it's like I can't really. I guess I can't really like juggle and gamble with that, right? But it was interesting. I was applying for jobs, and I was looking for work. And even though I have a job, and this morning I kind of woke up like almost had an existential crisis, just like freaking out. And I realized that like I just have to learn with being. So I'm used to being comfortable in very uncomfortable situations. I found out I had a blood condition. I had 2 heart surgeries. You know, the loss of a loved one, going through a divorce, the threat of being homeless, like just all different things. On top of that, I'm a father, so there's like a lot of stuff that like weighs on me, right? And it's like I have a ton of stressors, but that's normal for me. I'm just constantly going, 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 looking for work, looking for work, looking for things, looking for things. And I'm now in this position where I'm kind of forced to take a seat. And that's weird. Like, it's super weird because it's like, it doesn't really feel comfortable. It feels like I should be doing something. I should be posting online. I should be, marketing and putting money into my ads. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. But then, it's interesting. I had this like aha moment where I was kind of getting caught in that, like literally yesterday. And I found out that, like, in the silence, there's habits that are being exposed, right? And that those habits go as far as like, or they go as low as like, being uncomfortable with sitting still, or, comparison game in our minds, right? Or whatever the case is, or distracting ourselves with just meaningless things. And I heard a story about a woman who had a dream. She was an older lady. I read she had this dream that she had her dream and she woke up in her 36-year-old body. She was, I think, 90 or 89 or something like that. And then she said the first things that she did was go over and hug her husband. And then she said, no, she said she woke up and her kid was waking her up. It was her little boy, and he was waking her up and was saying, "Mommy, mommy," and he was 4 years old. And she said, like, those were the most treasurable moments. Now, I say that because I sleep with my little man in bed, right? My son sleeps with me in my bed, and, it's just, it really just makes you realize what matters. This whole rat race, that's what I was bringing up, is like this whole rat race started like really stressing me out. Okay, am I doing this? Am I doing that? Am I meeting my goals? Am I doing this? And don't get me wrong, like I said, I am, but it just doesn't feel normal, right? Like, I'm used to life falling off tracks all the time, but this doesn't feel normal. And as I'm kind of like, like I said, I was applying for jobs and looking for stuff. It's like, is this how it's supposed to be? Am I falling behind? is there something coming up the tracks that I'm not seeing? It's like this like PTSD thing where you're like always on edge. And it's fascinating because I find myself kind of coming to this terms where it's like, no, man, this is this is what simple life looks like simple days, right? And that's hard, man. That's really hard to digest because coming from a state of where I've been, even if, like I said the other a couple times before, it's like if I die, I have no control over that. I just have to just let it go. I gotta let myself be carried off into the next life, right? And there's some kind of like it's just so interesting because it's like there's nothing here that can like I can be whatever you put a label on it, and it changes the moment I'm gone, you know. And I don't know. It was very reassuring because I started to think to myself like, what matters, this comparison game, this job game, this all these different types of things you label it, whatever it is you want to call it. Like it's just very strange. It forces me. It's forcing me to like recalibrate and ask myself why I'm doing what I'm doing. You know, am I living the way I'm supposed to live? Am I being a present father? Am I being financially wise? Yes. Another thing too is like, the Bible says that God knows the number of our days. Oh, if God knows the number of my days and I live to be 50 or I live to be 100, I can't change that. There's no like bartering with God, right? And there's no bartering with Satan, so don't get the freaking idea. But point is, you're left like this leaves me in this state of like, okay, so then what does that mean for the present, right? What does that mean for me now? And as tough as it is to survive, I mean, I'm talking about this in a cozy home. There are people, Jersey had a snowstorm. There are people who are living on the street. Like I said, I always like to bring back the reality of my situation. And then I like to compare it with what's going on outside, right? Outside, people are ill. People are dying on the street. I remember one time I was leaving a sushi restaurant in Philly and there was a guy on the floor just laid out. And people were just walking right over him, right? Just another dead body on the floor. No big deal. I don't know if he was dead, but he was on something and it was freezing outside. So he either got hypothermia, something happened, but the guy was out. He was homeless. So I bring this up because it's like, I realize sometimes most times people have it worse than we do. And like, what am I supposed to do? This is something I'm asking myself because I've had a crazy like survivor story in almost every element: mental, physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual. Like there's just so many elements to it, and I've been able to stay resilient. And I'm asking myself, like, now that all that is gone, what am I supposed to do now? Like, what does life look like for me now? And it's very interesting because I realize I don't know. It's kind of scary. And I think the hardest part for me is like being okay with that, being uncomfortable with comfort. And what I mean by that is not comfort like I'm comfortable, but like comfort in the transition of what I'm doing with my life. Things that are happening, things that are not happening. And trust in the process, and that process is in the Lord. And I say that because, I was talking with a friend and it's like, sometimes we worry about what we don't have. And sometimes the craziest thing about it is that we think that if we just work really hard, we can get the nice house or get all this. And then when we get it, we're unhappy. But I would argue to say, I think the only person who knows us best is God. And the one thing that I am constantly reminded of when I'm going through this like weird crisis and like struggle is the scriptures say that Jesus says, come and seek the kingdom of God first, and all these things will be added on to you. So that means that I'm going to seek God, and He'll give me a, Fortune 500 company, right? Like, no, like the things that God knows we need, He will give us. And that's where I struggle with, because I'm in this weird limbo phase. But it's all right. I feel like this transition phase is where it's going to build character. It's very difficult for sure, because I'm not comfortable with sitting still. If you guys know me, those of you who are not just YouTubers or YouTube and I don't know, social media hacks that just like to trash everyone, and you know who I am, you would know that I'm the kind of person that's always doing something, right? I'm always trying to innovate, trying to come up with something new, trying to do something. I'm always trying to do something. I got jujitsu and I don't know, my couple, maybe like 30 minutes. So after that, I'm going to come home, probably exercise, read some books, and then my son comes home, and then I'm busy with my son, and then I go teach, right? Like, I'm busy, right? So crazy stuff, man. But that being said, look, if you're in this liminal space, or if you're not, you may not understand. But if you are, you would understand. Sometimes it's okay to be in the mundane, because that's where we build like healthy habits. And this is something that I'm learning, you know. But at the same time, like, don't be too harsh on yourself. Like, we're not, our lives are like a fart in the wind. As crazy as that sounds, it's like we're not here to live forever. And let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy every minute that we get. Anyway, that's part of the Ronin Club, guys. So I hope to see you guys in the next one. And then I think I got, maybe just being transparent, I think I got like, say, 2 more. And then I'm gonna start having some guests on, and that'll be season 2. So this is like season 1, and then I'm gonna drop season 2 with some friends, people I think would be really interesting for you guys to listen to, and get their insight on. But again, thanks again for tuning into the Ronin Club, ladies and gentlemen.